All right, so ETL testing. So before knowing what exactly is ETL testing, or what do you
Hi,
say, what is mean by ETL or so, we have to know a few things.
this is to test the
Where exactly ETL fits into, or
functionalities
what exactly
of
ETL
data
is. So what are we going to do as part of our ETL?
studios.
So this is the main agenda of this. So this agenda will be covering all these particular topics. What is a data warehouse? So far we have not heard what is a data warehouse. I was talking about ETL, but what is a data warehouse? What is the purpose? Or why are we talking about data warehouse? We'll understand in a short while. Why data warehouse and not a database? Right. So that means we have to understand what do you mean by a data warehouse and what do you mean by database, and what a data warehouse can do and what a database could not do, and why data warehouse has come into existence. Right, so then the actual part, what is ETL? Right, then what is business intelligence? Tester's role in ETL, tester's role in business intelligence, and finally the prerequisites for someone who has to make their career as a good ETL tester. Okay, so these are the things that we would be covering as part of our module 1. Okay, let's start with our a simple thing, right? I have a producer here, right, who has got a number of questions around him. Okay, a producer, let's say in a market, right? Let's say a product producer is someone who is going to produce some products in the market, and he has got a number of questions. See, the first question: which are our lowest or highest margin customers? Right. So when you are releasing a product into the market, you have a customer who is gonna buy that particular product. So here the producer wants to know as the lowest and highest margin customers. Who is the customer, or how many number of customers, or who are the number of customers who are making their sales as a low in number, or who are the customers who are making their sales in high in number? Who are my customers and what products are they buying? Right? He wants to know the customers and the products that they are buying. Right? Which customers are most likely to go to the competition? Interesting. What impact will new products or services have on revenue and margins? Right? He wants to introduce new products. So what will be happening to his revenue? What product promotions have the biggest impact on revenue? New product promotions. What is the most effective distribution channel? So all these questions, why is he asking all these questions? Any idea? Why is he trying to get the answers for all these particular questions? Why he wants the answers for all these particular questions? Simple thing. He's the one who produced something, right? To get profit, perfect. He wants to gain profit. He wants to attract the market. He wants to attract the customers. But how is he going to get this particular information? How is he going to get this particular data created? Is the question now. Right. So simple thing. Right. He been in the market, okay, and he is producing some products or some what do you say? Yeah, some products. Right. So every product is purchased by a customer. Okay. Let's say you as a customer and myself as another customer. We both are customers. Right. We are buying some products from him. All right. Now among us, he has to get an information as who is doing the better sales for him, or what are my likes, what kind of a products that I was searching for, and what kind of a products that I was exploring within his store, and what type of products that I'm going to buy. So all this information, he requires all this particular information. Now how is he going to get all this particular information? Where he will be getting this data from? Right. So all these are questions. Right. Perfect, Pandian. Right. So all these are questions which has to be answered. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an example now with which We'll try to relate something and we'll try to understand. Okay, right. Here's a company. Now let me pick another color here. Fine. Here's an organization who is producing some products. All right, he been producing some products. Let me take he is a pharma company. Right, a pharma company produces medicines, right? So he's producing some medicines and he wants to know the sales of medicine A. Let's say medicine A, any name, right? Sales of medicine A in the year 2012, and that to month of June, right? He wants to know the sales of medicine in the year 2012 and that in the month of June. He wants to I'm sorry. He wants to know the sales of that particular medicine in the month of June of the year 2012. So what do he need to do? What do he need to do? He needs to collect the data, right? So that means he has to maintain the data in such a way that he has got his historical data, right? So every data, like whatever the data that he is coming up with, right? He needs to maintain the history of that. Only then he'll be able to answer this particular question. If he is not having any history of this particular medicine, he will not be able to answer that particular question, right? He'll not be able to answer that particular question. Now, extending the same example, right? A is a pharma company. It's been spread out across the world. Let's say it's in India, UK, US, right? It has been spread out in 3 locations. The same pharma company who was spread out in 3 locations, who's been what do you producing the products in all these 3 locations, right? So what needs to happen when he wants to analyze this information again? What needs to happen? Right, he has the data within India, he has the data here, he has the data here in UK, he has the data here in US, he has data everywhere. But what do he require now? He require a medium where it will be picking up all the data from all the 3 locations, right? There should be a medium which picks the data from India, from UK, from US. There should be a functionality which will be able to access the data from India, UK and US, right? Moreover, another challenging question here, right? In case of in India, they're maintaining the data in the form of flat files, right? Let's say file system. The database here is as a file system, flat file. It can be an XLS file or a text file or whatever it is. In case of UK, they're maintaining the data in case of your Oracle system, right? Here's MS SQL Server, right? Here they're maintaining the data in case of your SQL Server, right? Now the producer A, looking at the data coming from all these 3 locations, he will not be able to understand the data. Yes, he has got the data, it has widespread across all the networks, right? He has got the access to all the data, but the now another important challenging question is he's not able to correlate the data, or he's not able to get the information that he wants from this particular data, right? He's not able to get the information from this particular data. So he needs a medium where this data is extracted, formed into a shape where he will be able to understand. That means it transformed into a shape where he will be able to understand it and store it in a particular location, right? In order to have this implemented, a data warehouse is being constructed. A data warehouse is being constructed in order to have this particular functionality. That means you have to extract the data. So what needs to happen here? In case of in India or UK or US, you should be able to extract the data from all these three locations, right? You should be able to extract the data from all these three locations, irrespective of their nature of source. I mean source in the sense here flat files. Here in case of India, it's a flat file. In case of UK, it's an Oracle. In case of US, it's a SQL Server. If you take Australia, it can be Teradata or whatever it is. Irrespective of their medium of source, right? The medium should be in a way to extract the information out of this. So you have to extract the data and transform in a way that is understandable for the business, right? Transformed in the way that is understandable for the business and should be preserved in a location, right? And preserved in a location, right? Now when you talk about this, what happens is we are talking about extraction process, right? Transforming process and loading process, right? ETL. We are talking about extraction, transformation, and loading. Now here, what is going to happen is in your loading process, in your preserving area where the data is preserved, right? Where the data is preserved, it will be having the complete set of historical data. It will be having your complete set of your historical data. Your source systems, these are your source systems, right? Generally, the source systems, not generally, it is always, the source systems are your OLTP systems, right? So what is OLTP system here? It's normal your online transactional processing systems. In general, what I can say is they are the databases. So what is the nature of a database here? The nature of a database is that it maintains current data. Why it is going to maintain only the current data within a database? Why is it going to maintain only current data within a database? Because the databases are in normalized form. The databases are in normalized form. As they are in the normalized form, they will be able to maintain only current data. The rule for normalized form normalization is no redundancy. There should not be any redundant data. So what do I mean by redundant data and everything? Let me take a simple example with which you'll be able to understand the things. All right. Let me consider an employee table, EMP table, where you'll be seeing that employee number is as a primary key, e-name, job, salary. Let me take these as the columns here. What do you mean by primary key here? A primary key is a key which is unique and not null. At a, at a table level, you should be able to store the data in a way that it maintains a unique set of data, right? It maintains a unique set of data so that your table is in consistent. You'll be having the consistent data, right? So here, let's say 1001, let's say Durga, right? He is as his job is a salesman, right? He is earning a salary of 8,000. 1002, Satish, he is a senior salesman, right? He's earning a salary of 12,000. Okay, now this is your employee table. Now in future, let's say across a period of 1 year, they'll be having their increments or they'll be having their appraisals. In fact, you can say that during the appraisal, what the organization has decided is, right, Durga has got an increase of salary by 1200, whereas Satish has got a change in designation from senior salesman to he was made as manager, and a salary of 1500 is given to him. Now in order to apply these changes on this particular table, what needs to happen? What needs to happen on a table level? an update should happen, right? Because a data is going to get changed, right? So you have to write an update query so that this data is reflected over there. So how do you write an update statement? Update emp set salary equal to salary plus 1200, and to whom this should be applied, where emp number is equal to 1001. So when you say this, your Durga salaries will be changed from 8000 to 9200. Likewise, update emp set job is equal to manager comma salary equal to salary plus 1500, where emp number is equal to 1002. What happens if I execute both the statements? If I execute both the statements, my data will be looking like in this way: 1001 Durga SM, is right, it will be 9200, 1002, right, Satish manager, and it's 13,500. This is the data that I would be seeing. This data will be erased in your source system. This will get overwritten. This data will be overwritten by the new data, right? See, the update operation on an EMP table will override the existing data. Here I cannot insert a new set of data here, right? If I try to insert a new set of data here, what happens is it will throw me an error because I will not be able to enter the duplicate set of data because EMP number is set as a primary key. I'll not be able to enter a duplicate record in case of your employee table. So I have to go with only update statement. Now what is happening on a database level? It is, or it will be able to maintain only current set of data. Your historical data is lost. So what do I mean by history here? What was the previous salary of Durga? What was the previous salary of Durga? Now look at this particular red box. If you see this particular red box, will you be able to give the answer? Like if I'm asking a question, what is the previous salary of Durga? Can we, or will we be able to get that particular answer? No, because it's been updated, right? The data got overwritten, right? You don't know what is the original designation of Satish, what is the original job of Satish, or what is the original salary of Satish when he joined an organization, right? So what is happening here on a database level? What is happening? You'll be able to maintain only current set of data. And why is this current set of data? Because it's in normalized form. Because of normalized form, you'll be able to maintain only current data in case of your sources. But now see this, I have a question here, right? I want to know the sales of 2012. The current period is 2014, right? I need to know the sales happened in the year 2012. So that means I need to have an area where my history is existing. Only then I'll be able to give this particular answer, isn't it? Only then I'll be able to give the answer for this particular question, right? So what happens is your warehouse will be maintaining that particular historical data. Your data warehouse will be able to maintain that particular historical data. So how is it going to maintain your historical data? From a normalized systems. See here, when I say source, these are your normalized systems, right? These are your normalized systems. From your normalized systems, you have to make a particular way to get that particular historical data, right? So we'll see that how we are going to do that, right? I'll extend the same example. Let me save this. Right, let me take a new one. So earlier what happened? EMP is a table, EMP number which is as a primary key, name, sorry, job and salary, right? So 1001, what happened? He was Durga and he was a salesman and his initial salary was 8,000. Later on 1002, another record of Satish, right, senior salesman, and he was earning a salary of 12,000. This was the initial set of data, right? This was the initial set of data. Now because of some updates, so what happened? The data got changed to, let me put another color, right? The data got changed to 1001 Durga, salesman, 8,000. 1002 Satish, senior salesman, 12,000. Sorry, I gone wrong. Salesman, 9,200. 1002 Satish, senior salesman, and 13,500. This was the thing that has happened earlier, right? So first what we'll do is we'll just consider only the first part. Okay, forget about the thing that is in the box. Okay, now what happens is this is your database table. Right, EMP is your database table. Right, now here you need to have a historical table created for this particular database. I mean, you wanted to maintain your data warehouse. So what is going to happen is a historical table called dim underscore emp is created, right, within your warehouse. This is completely into your data warehouse. Right, in case of your data warehouse, another table called dim underscore emp is created. Now see the difference. Right, earlier if you see in the database level, emp number, I have mentioned something in the brackets saying that it is as a primary key. This is your primary key. Right, now here within your data warehouse, it is not set as your primary key. So that means you can have the same set of records always getting inserted. Now let's see here. So what happens? The first set of record you can directly insert into this particular table. All right. So here 1001 Durga, salesman, 8,000. 1002 Satish, senior salesman, and 12,000 record. Right, this is the data. Now next what happened? There was a change in data, right? So as there was a change in data, what happened? Your database table got updated to this particular thing, right? Your database table got updated to the content that you see in the blue box. Now what needs to happen? The same data should be seen here. Now I can insert the data again here. Instead of updating the data, I can just go with inserting. Durga SM 9200 1002 Satish SSM 13,500. Now what is happening in case of your data warehouse? Here you're having the historical data plus your current data. What is having in case of your database? You're having only current data. Now which is the, I mean, with which we'll be able to analyze the things? Is it with the database or with your data warehouse? What will help us in analyzing the things? It is with our data warehouse, not with the DB, but it is with the DW, right? Data warehouse. So what we can say with what we can say about a data warehouse? I can say that a data warehouse is an extension of database. Can I say this? Right? a data warehouse is an extension of your database. Yes, data warehouse has got data in the form of tables, in the form of rows and columns. It is using the same structure as your database, but it is doing an activity what a database could not do. A database is able to maintain only the current set of data, but your data warehouse will be able to maintain current and historical data. Now what is happening in general, what I said, it is in normalized form, right? Whereas your data warehouse will be in denormalized form. In denormalizing a table, you will be able to maintain your historical data and your current data. That is nothing but your data warehouse. All your databases are in normalized form. As a result, you are not, or you'll not be able to analyze the business properly, right? Whereas a data warehouse is constructed to analyze the business with the help of your historical data and the current data, right? With the help of your historical data and the current data, and this is possible by denormalizing the tables. All right, so any questions so far? Yeah, please.
Yeah, Durga, actually, see, I have question here. So we have to dump all the table with all the column or only in the selected table in the selected column?
All right, a good question, Pandian. The thing is, it depends on our business requirement. Okay, like let's say you are the producer and you want to know the complete history or a complete set of information regarding the employee or regarding the sales or regarding the products. So what you do, you dump the entire columns. Okay,
Okay,
but
okay,
you are much more concerned with only few set of columns, not with all set of columns. Let's take a product. Right, a
okay,
product has got a columns like product ID, product name, product description, the price, and so on. Right, you have another, let's say in your source you're maintaining the location where the product is manufactured, but when you're analyzing something you don't want that particular location, so what you do, in moving the data you'll omit that particular column called location. As simple as that.
okay, okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep, thanks, Pandian. Any other
yeah.
questions from anyone? All right, so this is what a data warehouse is helping us. So what we can say, see here, he has got the data, right? Like I said, right, he has got the data across the networks, a scattered one, but he is not able to do, right? He can get the data but he cannot read the data because sources are different, right? Some is maintaining the data in case of your flat files, someone is maintaining in one form of source DB, someone is maintaining in the data in other RDBMS. So data is spread out across the network in different systems, so he is not able to, or the producer is not able to understand the data what he has collected, right? He has got the data everywhere but he's not able to get the proper information or the correct desired information out of this particular data. So what do he need? He need the help of a data warehouse. So get that information into your warehouse, right? So how you're going to do this? Right, collect the data, extract the data from all the sources, bring all the source data, right? And why are you going to do this? In order to help the end user. End user is nothing but your producer here. He needs an analysis on this particular data to be conducted, right? So what you need to have, you need to have the data collected from the all the different sources and have to implement this particular data in an understandable format for the end user. Only then he'll be able to get the things done, right? So that is nothing but your data warehouse, a single, complete, and consistent store of data obtained from a variety of different sources made available to end users in a, okay, in a way that can be understand and used in a business construct, right? So what you need to do? You need to integrate the data first, right? Then you need to summarize it because summary has got a value, right? Summary has got a value to an organization. Let's say, like, okay, a product. Let's say iPhone 6, right? iPhone 6 which is into the market. If Apple wants to know who is the how many number of customers have been purchased the model called iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus and iPhone 5s in the current month. So what do they need? They need a summarized information. They don't need the entire information, entire customer information who has purchased, but they need the count of customers who has purchased that particular devices, right? If they want to get this particular summarized information across the world, they need to know the information like US iPhone 5 so and so count, iPhone 6 so and so count, iPhone 6 Plus so and so count, like UK same thing, US sorry, India same thing, China same thing, and blah 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 stuff. So what do they need? If you present the data in a summarized fashion, that adds a real value to an organization, right? So how you will be able to get this particular summarized information? By maintaining your historical data. So historical data will be adding a key role here, right? Historical data will be adding a key role in order to analyze a particular thing, right? Let's say for example, if you want to know my performance, so what do you need to know? You need to know my history first, right? Yes, Durga said that he been in the teaching industry from 3.5 years. Was he able to deliver the things properly, right? Or is he simply giving this particular information? All right, so if you look at my history, then you can uh, understand about me, or then you can give a conclusion point about me whether you wanted to go with Durga or not. You can take a decision on looking at my history. All right, so what if capabilities are required? Okay, so that is all possible with the help of your warehousing. Yes, you got the data, where the data, with the help of the data, you're getting the information out of it, and that is what your data warehouse. A process of transforming data into information, right? A process of transforming the data into information and making it available to users in a timely enough manner to make a difference, right? So this is nothing but your warehouse. Yes, it's a process. Data warehouse is not at all a software, it's a process. So what is it? You can say it's an extension of your database, right? So why you're going with this? To get the data, to answer few of the questions that you have got. So what do you need? You need to extract the data and get that particular questions answered, and transformed in such a way that your questions are answered. All right, so with the help of your data warehouse, you can expand your business. You can think in a way that you wanted to. You can expand the business in a way that you wanted to. You can make the changes to your business in a way that you wanted to, right? That is why every industry is going with, every industry will be having a warehouse, right? Data warehouse for decision support and OLAP, online analytical processing system, right? OLAP stands for online analytical processing system, right? You're getting the data warehouse, right? Why is this? What is the main need? To take a decisions, right? To take a certain decisions, right? The sales, if a particular person is concerning about the sales, or let's take an insurance, always sales is not good, right? I'll be taking an insurance company, like let's say Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? So Blue Cross Blue Shield has spread out across all the states in United States of America, right? So now if they want to analyze the things, right, if they want to know how many number of customers are going with the health as their product, and how many are going with the dental as their product, right, and how many are been choosing only health from BCBS and other product from other carrier. So when they get to know this particular information, when they have their warehouse implemented, and when they derive some analysis, they can make a better things, so that he can attract some of the other customers who are not with him, right? So they can take the decisions as why the customers are migrating to some other carrier, not to BCBS. So they can take their own decision in a way to attract the customers, right? So how you're going to get this? You're going to get this implemented with the help of your data warehouse. So all these questions you can answer with the help of your data warehouse. Which of my customers are most likely to go to the competition, right? What product promotions have the biggest impact on revenue? How did the share price of software companies correlate with profits over last 10 years? Okay, so this is how your data warehouse is going to help the organizations. And where do you see this particular warehouse? You see it everywhere. You have in finance, and what kind of an application that it best suits your credit card analysis. It's an example, not only the credit card analysis, but you have other analysis as well. I'm just throwing out some examples here. In case of your insurance, you have claims, fraud analysis, telecommunications, call record analysis, transport, logistic management, consumer goods, promotion analysis, data services, right? What kind of value you're going to add, utilities, right? Power usage analysis, right? So these are the different application areas. Just an examples, okay? I'm just throwing some examples here to make you understand where exactly the warehouse are implemented. Right. So what is RDBMS? RDBMS is nothing but your relational database management system, which is your normal databases. All your databases nowadays are relational database management systems. Right. So what are they used for? They're used for tracking the transactions, daily transactions. You go to an ATM, you withdraw something, your current data is going to get reflected over there. Right. A transaction is made, you can see that particular transaction. Right. You as a customer, you call a carrier and say that you wanted to update some details. A transaction. Right. Whatever the transactions that you make is all happens in case of your RDBMS. Right. So these are the various things. All right. Now, a simple thing, to run a particular business, you need a database. Right. OLTP system is nothing but your database. This is to run a particular business. But to expand your business, or to what do you say, to understand the business in a more better way, you need a warehouse. So that means you're optimizing the business, right? You're optimizing a business. So you can say in short that a database is used to run a business, whereas a warehouse is used to optimize the business, right? A data warehouse or a warehouse is used to optimize a business. So these are the key differences here, a difference between a database and a warehouse. So OLTP is an application oriented, right? You have an application, right? Every application that you have, let's take your Gmail as an application now. When when you wanted to create a Gmail account, you give all the fields, right? Mandatory fields like username, password, and blah 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 stuff. And when you click on create, your account is created. So anytime you log in, what happens? The data that you provide over there hit backs to your database and retrieves the information, right? So database is towards an application perspective, right? OLTP system is an application perspective, but whereas your warehouse, it's a subject oriented. So how is this particular subject oriented, right? You wanted to know some sort of information around that particular data, right? You wanted to know some sort of information around that particular data. Where do you have this particular data from? You're getting this particular data from your OLTP system. From your OLTP system, the data that is collected from your OLTP system is helping us to derive the subject information. So your warehouse actually does this particular subjective orientation, oriented way, right? It's a subject oriented way. Right. So always your databases are helpful for your running the business, whereas your warehouse is helping or will help us to analyze a particular business. In case of your database, you'll be having a detailed data, right? You'll be having a detailed data. If you're making a particular transaction, right? What is the transaction that you have made? How much amount? What is the date, time? Who is the merchant? So you'll be having entire information. But when you're talking about a warehouse, if you want to have a summarized information, what is the total amount present in your account? A summarized one, right? So OLTP, it's an up-to-date one, current, right? In your warehouse, you'll be having a snapshot of data. I mean, your previous data, all your historical will be having in case of your warehouse, right? OLTP, it's an isolated one. Every application will be having its own database, right? Whereas your warehouse, if you wanted to what do you say, if you wanted to analyze the data across the applications, that means you have to integrate the data coming through, right? So it's a repetitive process, it's ad hoc process, clerical user and knowledge user. So mainly your data warehouse is useful for your managers, right? See, always you see who will be analyzing the business, it's always the top level management people who will be analyzing the business, and that is why a warehouse is much more required for a particular manager to analyze the business. Now we were talking about a warehouse, but what exactly is helping us to get this particular data? I mean, what exactly is helping us to get this particular data into your warehouse? It is the process called ETL. So ETL is a process within your data warehouse. So what exactly ETL is doing now? It is extracting the data, right? It is extracting the data from different sources. It's not the same sources, right? It can be heterogeneous sources. I'm sorry. It can be your heterogeneous sources, right? On extracting, it transforms in a way that the business requires. That is nothing but your transformation. T stands for your transformation. And then loads the data into your warehouse, a storage location where you have entire data, a transformed data, right? Now this particular transformed data will be helping the business intelligence people, I mean your managers, right? So this is all about your ETL. So this is a simple architecture. See here, you have the source systems here in the first part of this picture, right? An ETL process is happening. The data moves on to your staging area. Do not what do you say, do not get into the topic called staging area. We'll be having later sessions where we'll be covering up this, right? From there it's loaded onto your warehouse. From warehouse it's into your business intelligence. This OLAP reports, all these reports are your business intelligence reports, right? Now what is happening is, we'll be talking about business intelligence. So what is happening is, right, you're extracting the data from all the sources, right, and you're transforming in a way the business requires and loading the data in a particular storage like warehouse. Now if a manager asks you some question, right, he wants to know the top performers, right, he wants to know the top performance for the year 2013. You cannot simply ask the manager to write an SQL query on the warehouse, right? You cannot simply ask the manager to write or go and look into the database and write a query for yourself to get that particular data, right? So managers always do not what do you say, do not expect that kind of answer, but they want something in a conclusive manner from which they can take their own decisions. So what a business intelligence team does, a business intelligence team will run reports or will generate the reports by using the data that is present in your warehouse, right? By using the data that is present in your data warehouse, they extract this particular data from the data warehouse and they develop some sort of reports on the front end which will be accessed by the managers, and then they take the decisions, and that is what your business intelligence is. So decision support is nothing but your business intelligence systems where you have your reports generated. Okay, and why is this particular reports useful for? These reports are useful for your analyzation of a particular business entity or a business, right? So these reports will be accessed by the managers where they'll be taking their decisions, right? So we were talking about some sort of concepts, kind of thing, like we understood, I mean, we have talked about what do you say, the data warehouse, the difference between a database and a warehouse, a ETL, and business intelligence. Now what, as a testing person, we will be doing as part of our ETL, right? What kind of an ETL testing activities that we have to do? All right, now here you have your source system and you have your target system. Target system is nothing but the table that you see in your warehouse. Source is your normal DB, target is your normal, I mean your data warehouse. Assume that. Okay, now what we have to do, if you have a table in case of your source that is having 10 records, and when you move this particular data from your source to your warehouse, you should be expecting the same 10 records getting loaded into your target table, provided there are no other business rules or filtering conditions. So what we do here, we do the source to target counts, right? We check whether the data that is present in the source count, I mean the count of records that is present in the source and the count of records that is present in the target is as per the requirement or not, is as per the business requirement or not, right? Then we will be validating the data, whether the data, yes, I have the data here in the source, like it is saying as 1001 Durga and salesman and 8,000 as his salary. Now, if the same data is moving from your database and getting loaded into your warehouse, it should not be like 1001 Durga Satish, salesman, and it should not be as 8,000, right? It should be the data, whatever the data that you see in the source, the same data has to be moved on to your target if there are no filters, right? If there are filters, then it should be according to that particular filters. So the data should be valid. Whatever the data that you see here, the same data should be reflected in case of your target, providing matching your business requirements. So that is what we are going to check here. Transformation and business rules. Okay, so let's take a small example here. Let's take the source as here. All right, let me take the source EMP number, the primary key, first name, last name, job, and salary. This is my source table. Okay, let's say Pandian.
Durga, actually, I have a question. See, your second point you're saying is source to target data validations.
Right.
See, for example, source they have 1,000 data, and target also should be the 1,000. So we have to manually all the 1,000 we have to verify, or we have to pick the sample data and we have to verify.
Okay, good question, Pandian. We can get this particular data validation done with the help of our SQL queries. Right. Like let's say
Okay.
you got 1 lakh records or 10 million records. Right. You
Okay.
cannot go record by record and validate the things, right?
Yeah.
But indirectly, what you can do, if both the systems are the RDBMS systems, RDBMS systems are in the sense your database systems, you can
Okay.
write a query which will do this particular validation, which we'll be learning in further classes. Right,
Okay.
we'll be
Okay.
clearly looking at that particular validation. But if it is
Okay.
a file system towards a table, then we have a different set of approach, which we'll be also seeing. The way that you
Okay.
said, the sampling method, that is one best approach to do that particular thing. But in case of your sampling method, you cannot always give 100% clarity over it, right?
Okay.
So we have a different set of method with which we will be trying to validate from a file system to a table level. Okay,
Okay.
thanks,
Okay.
Pandya. Nice
Thanks.
question. Thank you. All right. So let's take this as our source table. All right. Now let me take the target table structure as in this way. EMP number, EMP name, job, and salary. Now here, if you see at the source, there are two columns, Durga Satish and last name, Kulukuluri. I mean first name and last name. But in case of your target, it completely said as employee name. And the business rule says that EMP name is a combination of your first name plus your last name, your business rule. So when I say plus, it's a concatenation. Okay, joining of two columns is nothing but your concatenation, right? So what needs to happen when a particular business rule is applied on this particular source data? The data should be reflecting here in case of your target system as Durga Satish Kolukuluri, SM and 8,000. So this is one simple business rule here. So what is the business rule talking about here? It's talking about the concatenation of two columns, like first name and last name getting concatenated, and the same data should be seen in the column called EMP name of target table. right? This is one such a business rule. So what we have to do, we have to evaluate this particular data as a test engineer. It is our responsibility that whether the business rule around this particular column called emp underscore name is properly implemented, right? We have to test it. It is our role in case of our ETL testing. So clear with this? Any question about transformation and business rule? All right, fine. Batch sequence and dependency testing. All right, so batch sequence in the sense there are some jobs, like let's say there are certain tables that should be loaded first and the other tables that should be loaded second. So we have to also consider this sequence. We have to see like the batch sequencing is happening properly or not, right? And dependency testing. So when you say dependency testing, you can always get this particular reference, like you cannot always load a table where it has got a foreign key first, and you cannot then you'll be loading a table that has got a primary key, right? Always your parent table should be loaded first, then your child table, right? A kind of dependency, right? So which will be doing this, a batch sequence and dependency testing. Constraints, views, testing. So constraints, primary key constraint, foreign key constraint, unique key constraint, check constraints, null constraints, all these constraints we have to test it, right? Views, the views that are created, we have to even test that particular views. Duplicate testing. So what do you mean by duplicate testing here? So whether your table, your data warehouse table is getting loaded with a duplicate set of data, what happens if my source, which is as a file system, is coming with duplicate set of records? How is it being seen in case of your target? Is the same duplicate data seen in case of your target or not? Or if you are executing the same functionality again and again, what is happening? Is all the data again loading into the target table for each and every time you run? So all these things needs to be tested out. Performance testing, how long it is taking a particular job to move the data from your source to target, right? So all these are our roles as part of our ETL testing, right? The roles. Importantly, negative testing. As a test engineer, we should be always thinking in a destructive manner, right? We are the ones, we should always hate the product, only then we'll be able to find the defects. So when you try to hate the product, you'll be getting different negative thoughts over the product, right? Product or an application, whatever it is, whatever the application under test or whatever the thing that you test, you should be always in a destructive manner, right? The same case in case of your ETL functionalities as well, you should be always thinking in a negative manner as how to make sure that this particular job is a wrong one, how to prove that this particular job is a wrong one, how to prove that this particular job is not behaving as expected. You should be always thinking that, and where you'll be having, or you're going to implement this particular negative testing activities over that. Okay, so these are the different kinds of testing that we are gonna do. Whereas in case of your business intelligence, so what is business intelligence here? It's a generation of reports. Reports in the sense you'll be having your pictographical reports, bar graphs, pie graphs, right? Matrix, right? You'll be having exporting functionality and everything. So we have to test the entire dashboard, a dashboard which has got all the charts. You'll be having flow graphs and everything, which we'll be seeing in a detailer manner when we go with this. All right, structure testing for dashboards, appearance of everything, right? Prompts, filtering conditions. So what is happening to the graph when you're applying some filters, right? Navigation and drill down testing. So how is the report getting navigated? Like let's say there is a report that is generated for the sales happened in the year across the years. Let's say 2010, 2011, 2012, 13 and 14. A sales report is generated, right? Now when you wanted to find a report pertaining to 2012 across the months, so what happens? What should you do? When you click on 2012, it should give a report that is giving the sales across the months like Jan to December. So that means you're drilling from a high level to a low level. You're drilling down. Okay, you're drilling down, and such kind of reports is nothing but your drill down reports. Right, data validation. Right, yeah, you got generated. You generated the data, right, and the data is appearing on your front end. But how certain it is that the data that you see on the front end is perfect? Right. So where are you getting this particular data from? We're getting this data from your warehouse. Right. So what we have to do, we have to write some SQL queries on your warehouse tables and see the output and verify to your front end. So you have to do a data validation again here. Right. So when doing this particular data validation, our actual database testing parts will cover. Right. The first question, there was a question in the early in the part of the class. So are we going to cover the database testing? Yes, we are going to cover the database testing as part of your ETL testing things. Right, matrix validation. So how would be seeing the matrix? Matrix in the sense the data arranged in the form of rows and columns, right? So security. Yes, this is one more important. Right. A question to you. Who should be accessing these particular reports? Who needs these particular business intelligence reports? Managers. Perfect, Pandian. All right. So managers are the one who will be more interested. Perfect, Rukesh. Right. Managers are the one who will be more interesting towards analyzing your business. So they are the one who needs these particular reports to be accessed. Right. As part of your security testing, you'll be doing the authentication testing, authorization testing. Right. So when you say authentication testing and authorization testing, what happens is, are you an authorized user to access these particular reports? Right. Have you authenticated successfully? Is your email ID and password that you have given is valid enough or not? Right. You're going to check in a different manner, like to see whether your application is vulnerable, right? Easily broken to unwanted users, or easily brokenable by unwanted users. So you'll be checking in a different perspective, right? You'll be checking your normal, your authentication testing and authorization. Apart from that, you'll be applying some other conditions, right? Some kind of SQL injections and everything, right? So that is as part of your security testing. Again, how long it is taking for a report to load, performance testing, right? Are we going to cover security testing here? I'll be covering on a higher note, right? Because security testing, again, it's a bigger domain for us, right? But we'll be covering the things that is most important for a business intelligence testing part, right? When we are going to cover, when we are going to talk about security testing, we'll be covering the topics regarding the business intelligence testing part, right? What are the topics? What are the uh, different combinations of security testing that one has to do over testing these particular reports? I'm sure you'll be having the sufficient knowledge on security testing given from my side. Okay, right. Yeah, I'm talking about all these things. I'm talking about everything now. But what are the prerequisites? What do you need to know? What do you need to know when you wanted to make a career as an ETL testing? When in fact, I'll put it as a data warehouse testing, right? Not as an ETL testing, because you're going to cover the ETL testing part as well as you're going to cover the business intelligence testing part. Both together is nothing but your warehouse. Complete your data warehouse. So what are the important things that one has to know, or what are the things that one has to know when he should be treated as a successful test engineer, ETL test engineer or data warehouse test engineer? I believe everyone has got this experience on software testing, right? So why is it required? Because you are the one who is going to test the application, right? You are the one who has to write the test cases, test plan and everything, right? You're the one who has to think the application in a negative manner to break it. Knowledge on database is very, very important. No matter whatever maybe the flavor is, irrespective Oracle, SQL Server, Teradata, whatever it is, right? No matter whatever it is, you're going to use the same SQL language. The language is common, but it differs with certain functions, when you talk Oracle or SQL Server or MySQL, whatever maybe the database medium is, The language with which you're going to retrieve the data is SQL, structured query language. All right, so the language is always the same. You'll be having the same sort of syntax, but with certain small changes. Okay, so we are going to cover the database classes here, right? So from module 2, it's our database classes. We're going to cover the database classes. We're going to take Oracle here, right? We're going to learn what is SQL, how to write a queries in order to retrieve the data from the tables. All right, if no matter if at work you're going to work with SQL Server, you can use the same structured query language, but it differs with a certain little changes to their functions, the small functions. But apart from that, the logic, the way that you present the syntax will always remain the same. So one should be having a good knowledge on databases. A little knowledge on Unix commands or Linux commands is more helpful, right? So always what happens is your source systems, they'll be placing your data in case of Linux or Unix systems. So there will be a medium where you have to pull the files from Unix to your Windows or Linux to your Windows. So we just need a little knowledge on the process. So we'll be using the PuTTY and WinSCP to know that particular functionality. We'll be covering this, all right, as part of our classes. And little knowledge on any of the ETL tool. In the market, you have many ETL tools, of which we will be taking Informatica as an ETL tool for our classes, and we'll be working on it. Right, I'll be giving you the main information or most part of the information regarding Informatica to a level a tester requires. Right, we'll be covering to a level what a tester requires according to, about that particular Informatica tool. Now one thing to make it clear, if you're clear with all the ETL concepts, irrespective of the tool, whether it is Teradata, DataStage, ODI, Informatica, Pentaho, whatever it is, irrespective of the tool, you can work on it successfully. It's same like, see here, um, when you know the concepts, you know how to apply that particular concepts. The biggest part of our ETL testing is with SQL, because tool is the only one which pulls the data from source to target. But how do you validate the data? By writing the SQL queries. All right, so most part of our testing will be with the SQL queries, not with the tool. The tool will be doing a 10% functionality, which will be executing the jobs in moving the data from your source to target systems. But it is your SQL queries. The validation part will be always through your SQL queries, SQL queries, right? You have to write a SQL queries in order to validate the things. Here we are the one who validates, right? So we require a little knowledge. So when you consider the complete ETL functionality as 100%, I give 10% to only tool and 90% to our SQL queries, because SQL queries are the one with which we are going to validate the things, and 10% of the activity we're going to execute the things. And most part of the organizations, they are not even giving the testers to execute the job. They are executing it, and we are asking us, they will be asking us to test the things. All right, and there is a question, why Informatica? Informatica is most widely used, so I chose Informatica to take up the classes and nothing else. There's no specific reason for that. Okay, right, so it's your part now. Your questions are highly appreciated now. Any questions that you have around the things that we have covered so far?
Durga, I have a question. This is Pandian.
Please, Pandian.
Yeah, what is the future of ETL testing? See, in the job market, see, at the end of the day, we are going to complete the course. So how the future and how the job openings? I'm asking that part.
Right, the future is very, very good, because every business requires a warehouse to be implemented. Every business in the market requires a warehouse to be implemented, and when a warehouse to be implemented, they need to have their ETL functionality to be developed. And when they're developing the ETL functionality, there should be some testing activities to be conducted. Right, So ETL is widely used one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Then
Yeah, hi Durga.
yeah,
I
please,
have a couple of questions here.
please, Sujit.
Uh, can I know why? I mean, why we are going to? I mean, I have a little knowledge on PLSQL.
Uh-huh.
What is the exact difference between the Oracle going to Oracle and PLSQL? This is the first question. The second question is like, how much depth of knowledge we need for the database? Like, we need to write procs or functions or everything, or what kind of knowledge we need here?
All right. Out of both the questions you have, I'm going to answer the question number one now. Oracle, PLSQL. Oracle is a database. PLSQL is a language, procedural language, right? It's a procedural language that you use in order to retrieve the data from your Oracle database. Okay, so Oracle is a database, it's a software. PLSQL is not a software, it's a language that you use in order to retrieve the data. Okay, and this, so it's any database that I say. It's not only, I'm not restricting you to one particular database. It can be any database. And the second question that you have asked me, to what knowledge? See, for a test engineer, we are not required to write the stored procs, or we are not required to write a functions. We will be dealing with multiple set of tables, and to a maximum level, we'll be joining those particular tables and we'll be finding out the data. So to a tester level, it is okay if one is good till joins and subqueries. When I say subqueries, correlated and normal subqueries, nested subqueries and correlated subqueries. So one should be very good till that particular thing. See, most part of our ETL testing activities will always deal around your grouping functions, aggregate functions, because always your warehouse will be having your summarized data, right? So you'll be dealing with your aggregate functions, right? So and your joining functions, because you have to get the data from two or more tables or five or six tables. It depends completely on your business requirement. So a testing knowledge is required till joins. That is enough. Joins and subqueries.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Sujit. Right. Rukesh has got a question. I am a beginner regarding DB testing ETL BI. I want to know, will we be using DB testing tools and will you be giving knowledge on ETL, because I have very less knowledge on this. Yes, Rukesh, this particular class is to give the entire knowledge. We don't have any tools on regarding the DB testing. All right. We'll be doing the DB testing part. Right, we'll be covering the complete DB testing part. It's our normal database things that we are going to cover here, right? So you'll be once we are done with this particular entire classes, you'll be having a very good idea as what is DB testing, what is ETL testing, what is the difference between the two, and the BI testing as well. You'll be having the complete knowledge out of these particular classes. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Thanks, Sujit. Yeah, Sulakshana, I'm sorry, Sulakshana, please. Do I need to unmute you? Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I do, I do. I do, Sulakshana. I can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, Sulakshana, I can hear you. Is there any way to automate ETL testing? Yes, there are some ETL tools, automation testing tools regarding ETL. Right. In case of your Informatica, there is one particular tool called data validation object, which is used for your automation of your ETL process. But uh, even there, you have to write the SQL queries. right? You have to write your own SQL queries in order to validate the things, right? It pulls the your source, it gets integrated with your source medium and your target medium, but it cannot do the function by its own. Like unlike your automation testing tools, like let's say your Selenium or your QTP, whatever it is. So what you do, you just create a one particular flow and you can re-execute it. But in case of your ETL testing, what happens is your source system may differ, your target system may differ. There can be a number of tables that can come into picture, right? So what you need to do is you need to write a SQL query and place in that. Only then it will be able to automate. Okay, so there are tools, Sulakshana. There is one more tool called query search, which is also used for your automation. But then the limitation is you have to make your SQL queries ready. Only then you'll be able to automate it. Okay, so right, Daiju, Informatica is not an open source, but you can, I mean, for a, if it is not, one second, sorry, right, if it is not used for, what do you say? If it is used for a single license user, you can always get it downloaded from Oracle. I'll be showing you the process as how to install the Informatica and how to make your practicings conducted, how to practice the things at your end. Right, you can always have a free tool. I mean, you can download it for free, but unless and until it is not used for commercial purpose, it's always free. Okay, right, Shailendra. Right, this will be available, Shailendra. Hadoop, big data, which are related to data warehouse, they are the biggest, bigger than your data warehouse. See what is happening in case if you talk about your database, it is having a small set of data, right? It is having only current data. But when you're talking about data warehouse, it is having your current and historical data. But when your history is getting increased, what happens? The data gets piled up, right? It becomes your big data. And Hadoop is a medium where your big data is used to analyze the things. Okay, Sujit? Your data is getting bigger and bigger. Any other questions for me? Right, Rukesh. Okay, sorry. This will be an added things in case of your resume, Rukesh. Right, already you're working as an automation test engineer, and when you have this particular ETL testing and BI knowledge, this will be an added advantage to your what do you say, existing skill set. Okay, now what like one thing I have to tell you, right? When you learn this particular ETL testing, you can market your resume as an ETL test engineer as well as BI test engineer, two different segments. Okay, now the same way when you are going to market your resume, Rukesh, you can market in three different ways: as an automation test engineer, ETL test engineer, and BI test engineer. And whichever the one that is paying you more, you can make your choice of selection. Okay, it will be adding an added advantage. Okay, and moreover, your automation testing experience may help you in case of your ETL testing automation as well. If there is a process of automating your ETL testing activities, this may help you. Right, definitely for your BI, it will be always helping you, because when you say about your BI testing, it's again you testing the web pages where your reports are accessed, and you'll be again you can easily automate the BI process, right? Unless there are some flex objects and everything, you can easily automate. You have some eggplants and everything tools with which you can easily automate. So your automation knowledge over ETL and BI will definitely add an advantage. It will not be a disadvantage, but it will be always an advantage. Okay. Perfect. You can apply for DB testing as well. 100% true, Pandian. Right. So any other questions from anyone?